Hello and welcome to my Bioshock 2 Incinerate guide. So in this game, Incinerate is actually pretty good. In the first game, it really wasn't at all. It was kind of a weak ability. It didn't really do much, it didn't really do good damage. It was kind of like a joke. It didn't really, unless you're on a low difficulty, the damage was terrible, and the whole point of Incinerate is to deal damage. Luckily, in this game, it's actually quite good. The default Incinerate Tier 1 just sets a single target on fire. Enemies that are on fire can walk into each other and set each other on fire, so let's see if I can get that to happen. Just kind of set her on fire. So you can kind of get a feel for the duration. Just not die here. So the enemies will extinguish themselves if they can, so that's something to keep in mind. So let's observe this dude's behavior. It looks like he foolishly knocked himself over with an explosive. That's unfortunate. So let's go over the tiers of Incinerate and if you should invest in it. So Tier 1, you can just set things on fire. That does good damage. Enemies that are set on fire for the first couple of seconds will actually become crowd controlled. So you can essentially mitigate damage that they deal, like prevent them from attacking while damaging them. Rank 2 gives you the option to charge up a firebomb ability, or I'm sorry, fireball ability. So I'll just charge this up and shoot a fireball. Cool. So it's hit scan even though it says it's a fireball. And it just explodes in a radius, setting foes on fire within the radius. And then rank 3 makes all of your instant right clicks this fireball ability, and the charge is now a continuous stream of fire that deals decent damage over time, but not incredible damage. So it's not the best, but just ranking up your basic right click to the firebomb ability is quite good. So let's check this out. Let's get some dudes on fire. Okay, so he's in water. So the big downside to Incinerate, unlike Electrobolts, is that it can be countered with water. So if enemies are either in water or near water, you're going to find it being not nearly as strong. If they jump in water to douse themselves, that's not bad because it's usually an easy kill. But that's the big downside. So there is quite a bit of water in this game, as you can see, but luckily most of it isn't indoors, so enemies aren't going to be constantly putting themselves out. So it's still viable. It's definitely good with weapons that don't one-shot kill, because you don't really get a benefit from setting things on fire. If you're going to one-shot them anyways, you're better off just one-shotting them. So it's really good with the rivet gun, with the machine gun, with the drill and drill specialist. It's okay with the shotgun, but especially the minigun and the rivet gun. The reason for that is those are both damage over time weapons, and damage over time weapons generally will just do better when you increase your DPS. So increasing your damage output kills foes faster, puts you in control of the situation, which is what you really want in this game. So I'm just gonna kind of shoot him. So he didn't even have a chance to shoot me because the fire will crowd control them. So this is really good with these lower damage over time weapons that don't one shot, because if you're running Electrobolts, it will shock them, but once you shoot them once, it'll interrupt it. So Incinerate's good because even if you're shooting them while they're on fire, they still will be crowd controlled and they won't be as effective. So that's the big upside. So if you plan on running minigun or rivet gun, Incinerate's good to invest in. The tier 3 is worth it because it makes every right click this charged AoE ability, which is good. The new tier 3 charge is okay. You're probably better off just firebombing things rapidly. So you can kind of see here. That's just one Incinerate. So that's not bad for the amount of damage I did to all of them. Just one use of Incinerate and just a few rivets to the head, and this group of enemies is all dead. So and it's on hard mode, which isn't really super hard, but yeah, that's Incinerate. It's pretty strong. There are some things to consider. Eve Saver is obviously good with it. Damage Research increases the damage it deals. Drill Specialist is really good to run with this because you can just keep setting foes on fire, especially when you get Firebomb, and just whacking the crap out of them with the drill. It acts as crowd control and damage, so it gives you some damage at range, which Drill Specialist badly needs. Another way of getting that would be running Insect Swarm. Walking Inferno drastically scales its damage. That's one of the passive tonics you can run. And then, of course, like Fountain of Youth is good with it as well, because it just recharges your Eve when you're in water. So it can just make you more efficient. Like this is considered being in water. So any like water like this, any water where you're actually physically seeing water ripples beneath your feet, even if it's like an inch or two deep. So like this water is deep enough for Fountain of Youth to trigger. You can see there's like a ripple behind you. That means it's deep enough. That also means enemies can be extinguished. So something to keep in mind when running this. This will not extinguish an enemy. This will. If an enemy steps into this, or if they are in this, or if you cast this through... Actually, does this actually ignore this? In the first game, if you cast through something like this, it would put it out, but I guess in this game it travels through. So that is a difference between Bioshock 1 and 2 that I did not know. But like this water, this can't put enemies out. This can. So they're very likely not going to be in this. Well, let me see if I can get Fountain of Youth to trigger in this water here to like actually be in it. Oh, that seems to be cosmetic. I don't think it's actually interacting with me. That's actually cosmetic. That's interesting. All right. So here, let's find some functional water. This should be functional. This should be as well. So if Fountain of Youth triggers, they can put them. That enemy can extinguish themselves in it. So this is something an enemy can extinguish themselves in. This is as well. These falling ones, generally they will just walk into them. I don't think they'll seek these out. They'll seek out puddles though. So those are just some things to keep in mind. You can definitely run this full time. Like this is a viable plasmid for even the hardest difficulty, which is just hard mode. I really wish this game had a survival mode. Like I always say that when I do these videos, but like I seriously like the survival mode in the first game. It's not even really too hard, but it's just like fun to like have a harder Bioshock game. Like I wish there was like survival and then like survival plus or something. All right, so let's set this dude on fire. Check him out. So you see how like long he's crowd controlled for? It's almost like 3 seconds, which is pretty good. So you can kind of see there he like rolled in water and put himself out. So you generally will be shooting enemies, or you'll be using the machine gun or the rivet gun with this. It's a waste to use the spear gun with this. Electro bolt's better, or just getting headshots is better. So the machine gun's pretty good with this because you can just kind of have fun. Just like go to town. You can also whack enemies that are burning to conserve ammo. So with the machine gun, your best strategy is as they're burning and as you're approaching them, is to just whack them when they're like half health or less, assuming that you have like melee damage. So yeah, there you go. That is the Incinerate video. You kind of see here. It looks like I triggered an alarm, but I don't care because I'm just going to end the video. So I'll see you in the next one.